Good morning, folks. I want to talk to you a little bit out of John chapter 12 this morning. As we get closer to Easter, I always think about these chapters of John 13, 14, 15, and 16, and then his prayer of John 17, and how radical they were in their day. Because Jesus began to talk about how instead of going to the priest and sacrifices, that you would ask the Father in my name, and he will give it to you. But the start of that is in chapter 12. They're at the Passover week, and people are gathering in for the Passover weekend and all of the things that are going to go on during that celebration. And people from all over the world have come to see what's happening. And in chapter 12, starting at verse 20, it says this: "And there were certain Greeks among them that came to worship at the feast. And the same came therefore to Philip, and desired him, saying, Sir, we would see Jesus." They've come to this feast, and they've heard about Christ. They've heard about his miracles. They've heard about everything that he's done. And they find one of his disciples and say, Sir, we would see Jesus. I was introduced to this verse during Bible school. Of course, I'd read it over and over again, but it really became special to me during the time that I was in Bible school. We had an instructor, Dr. John Hall, who was over the Christian Ed department in the Bible school that I went to. And he had a banner printed in his classroom, and that's what it was. Just these words, Sir, we would see Jesus. And his idea was, he impressed upon his students every day, one of the best teachers I'd ever had. He impressed upon his students every day that the world needs to see Jesus in you. And he challenged us. Let the world see Jesus. Sir, we would see Jesus. If you think back to the time, and you go back and study the time that they were living, in the Greek world, we were just past the zenith of the Greeks' search for knowledge and all of the things that they were doing. They found that it came up empty. And at this time, the number one cause of death in the Greek society was suicide, because people had lost all hope. But now they've heard about Jesus, and they've come to the Passover. They've come to the feast, and what they want more than anything is to see Jesus. We see the same thing in the woman who had the issue of blood, as she came to the crowd, and she worked her way through the crowd and said, if I could but touch his garment, I'll be made whole. We see it in the centurion who sent his people to Jesus and said, if you'll just speak the word, my servants shall be healed. We see it all throughout the scriptures. The man whose daughter had died, and Jesus said, we'll go and she'll be alive again. People searching for Jesus because they know that he had life. And for those who have Christ, you can have, as Jesus says in the next few chapters, you can have life, and that life more abundantly. So folks, today I want to share with you that verse. The world would see Jesus. May they see Jesus in you. May they see Jesus. May they see the hope of the world in you. As you go forth in your day to day and throughout the week, show the world Jesus. Allow them to know that you have a hope, that you have a future, as Jeremiah had said, and that future is in Jesus Christ. Jesus began to talk in the rest of this chapter. He began to introduce the idea of his death and resurrection. And as he was telling everybody all of these things, there's one sad verse, and that verse is down in verse 42 of this chapter. Verses 42 and 43, it says this: "Nevertheless, among the chief rulers also many believed on him. But because of the Pharisees they did not confess him, lest they should be put out of the synagogue." Why? Verse 43, "For they loved the praise of men more than the praise of God." Folks, let's hold fast to the integrity and the love of Jesus Christ, that we might love the praise of God more than the praise of men, and that the world could come to the church. And the church isn't a building, the church is us. The world could come to us and say, "We need to see Jesus. Would you show him to us?" And then they can have hope, and they can have a resurrection in their soul, because Jesus is the answer to all of our troubles, all of our problems, and he loves us so much. God bless you. We'll talk to you again soon.